we're going to present tonight. But to kick it off, I would like to bring up our amazing Councilwoman, Wynn Shaw, and she's going to go ahead and give us kick off this meeting for us and give a little bit of an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and welcome to everyone. I love to see all the faces in the audience, the people checking out all of the boards that have been prepared. This is such an important project to Lone Tree and the surrounding areas. So the changes that are made, we want to make sure everyone is comfortable with them and that everyone has had the opportunity to raise questions that may or may not have been addressed by the project team. So that's part of the process tonight. Is we love the questions. Please feel free to ask. So thank you so much and enjoy the program.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. We also have online, I believe we have Commissioner Abe Layden. This is a partnership project, as many of the projects in Lone Tree are, with our great partners at Douglas County. I believe we do have Abe on the line. I'm going to go ahead and kick it over, Abe, if you'd like to do a quick introduction as well.
I would, and thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me. I'm at an event celebrating law enforcement in Douglas County. I wish I could be there with you, but the county has been with the city of Lone Tree, with CDOT, and all of you for a while on this critically important project. We couldn't be more proud to partner with you. We believe in the city of Lone Tree. We believe in what this amenity will provide for the citizens. I will tell you, I'm your District 1 County Commissioner and the chair of the Board of County Commissioners. I live in Lone Tree. So this project is near and dear to my heart, and interconnectedness of this important structure will really allow for the vibrance and the vitality of this economic corridor to persist. So we're really thankful for all of you that are there. I see Wynn in the audience. Wynn, thank you for your comments as well, and enjoy the presentation tonight.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner, and thank you for that great introduction. So with that, we're going to get kicked off here. All right, always in our virtual meeting. So we have an amazing amount of people in the room tonight, which is great to see. And thank you everybody for showing up. We do have several people online as well in our new hybrid world. We're greatly appreciative to have this facility at the Lone Tree Arts Center that's allowing us to do this. So a few quick updates today on our agenda. We're going to be providing a very detailed project update on where we've been over the last several months and where we are moving forward from here. We will then have a Q&A session, so we certainly have time for some Q&A. Afterwards, we still have time, hopefully, to go back and look at some of the boards in more detail. If you have a particular interest, we'll have staff from all the different agencies here to help and support, answer any questions that you may have. Finally, if you are virtual, you may use, we don't have the raise hand function as much, but if you use a Q&A button, if you would like to ask a question, please enter that in the Q&A. We will then have some people make sure at the end through our Q&A session, we'll be reading that out and communicating that out to everyone. If you're in the room, you may just raise your actual hand and we'll get you as we go. So we'll be going back and forth between the room and our virtual participants as well. So why are we here today? Well, we are here today because we want to really, again, share a lot of project updates, as well as several options that the team's been working on to improve the Lincoln Avenue corridor. We all remember that is really focused from Park Meadows to Oswego, including our I-25 interchange. We all know that is the biggest constraint within the Lincoln Avenue corridor, and also the highest use as it provides access to all users of the county, right? If you're going north, south, east, west, it's the gateway into Douglas County. As you learn more about these options tonight, if you have questions or comments, we'd love for you to scan that fancy QR code there. Even if not, just scan it so you know later if you want to make a comment. This will take you into our virtual format to be able to make comments. It's been a really great feature on our website, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback and comments through that process. Again, we all know the basic principle, right? In Douglas County and the city of Lone Tree, we are growing. This means we have more people using our community and our roads and our systems and our transit network and all of our transportation uses every day. And we have more jobs continuing to grow in the community, right? We have amazing partners. We have some tonight, some of our business communities here tonight in the meeting. We thank them for being here. All that adds up to needing more ways to get through our community and more travel needs. In order to do that, the big focus of this project is we need a plan to get these long-term improvements to support our economic and community vitality. Now, if you ever know about any of these big projects, they don't happen overnight, right? Any of these large interchange projects are years and years and years into a decade of work that it takes to get these done. We're in the early process, right? We're getting this great work done, and tonight's helping us move that way. But the great thing is we have momentum, we have community support, and we have support from our CDOT partners to continue this project. I'm not going to read this entire purpose statement out loud. But if you do look at this, this was the purpose and needs statement that's been developed. It's on our website. It's on the back boards if you have questions. But the big focus is we want to enhance mobility and connectivity for everyone. And that includes all modes. We'll talk a little bit tonight about how that's going to be accomplished. We want to improve operations on the Lincoln Avenue corridor and through the interchange. We're going to talk tonight about a lot of ideas and how we think we've come up with some solutions that will really meet that need. We want to address our existing and, more importantly, projected congestion on the corridor. We all know when we drive a corridor today, there's pain points. When we look way out to the future, and our traffic models we'll be talking about tonight go to 2050, right? That's a long way out there. But that's where we have to start to look to see what is the city going to look like and the county going to look like in 2050, and how are we going to meet these needs of our community. And finally, this is actually the most important as well, and I don't, it's on the bottom there, but it is the most important, is we want to improve the safety. So everything we're doing, we're balancing how is that going to improve safety on this corridor while we meet all these other needs. And finally, there's been a lot of stakeholder engagement throughout this process. Again, we're meeting tonight with the community. We also have had a whole lot of partners on this project. City of Lone Tree is up here presenting tonight, but this project involves all of the partners that you can see listed here, plus many more. And we thank tonight, we have some members from CDOT here. Thank you very much for being here, joining us tonight. Obviously, we have our development partners. They're critical to make sure any options and alternatives that we come up with can be consistent with the future development patterns of the community. This obviously also involves our Federal Highway Administration. So we do have people at the federal, the state, the local level attending all of our meetings. When we get to interchanges and freeways, we got to get the federal approval right for everything that we're doing through that process. And you can continue to look at a lot of our metro districts. Many of our metro districts are attending all of our meetings and supporting us. RTD, obviously a critical stakeholder in this process as well. And we have all the other jurisdictions involved, but certainly the town of Parker. We have representation tonight as well from the town of Parker. So everyone is here supporting this project, and we appreciate the time. With that, I'm going to kick it over to our mobility manager for the City of Lone Tree and our project manager for this project, Dan Ring.
Hey, thanks, Justin. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Just remember that all the slides that you see here tonight are also on our website. So in case you want to get into further detail, please go ahead and look at that, as well as all our contact information, phone number. So if you don't get your question answered tonight, please reach out and we'll get right back in touch with you. So let's talk about mobility. City of Lone Tree is about 27 years old, but believe it or not, it has had a deep rooted history for all those years in transportation investment and being a leader in innovative transportation. And that not only is practiced through funding investments, but also actually through policies and mixed use planned land uses. City Center is certainly going to be a big game changer. And we are city building here in the city of Lone Tree. And thankfully, we are not doing it alone. The partners that Justin mentioned before, but in particular, Douglas County and the Denver South Transportation Management Agency have been perpetual partners with us, whether that is extending the Southeast rail line, unprecedented $25 million match to extend that, the new stations at City Center, Sky Ridge, and at Ridgegate. You probably have already been there yourselves. It really helps provide a great foundation towards leaning into multiple modes and transit so that you don't have to have auto dependency. But it goes far beyond that too. We also run a free transit program within the city of Lone Tree, known as Link on Demand. All you need is your smartphone and you get a free ride anywhere throughout the city. More information is available at our website, cityoflontree.com/Link on Demand. But we're also investing in new bikeways. We've made bikeway improvements along Sky Ridge Avenue, and we're introducing new bikeway wayfinding to help folks navigate around the city. And it's also a pilot, so we can grow and learn that as we develop the city center. But as much as we have a great core foundation in transportation and innovative transit, We still have some gaps, but yet we have some really good opportunities. If anyone, everyone here, I'm sure has driven Lincoln, but have you walked it or tried to bike it? And that's where it gets really challenging because unfortunately, Lincoln Avenue doesn't make for great neighbors, or interchanges can be really tough to navigate through. And improvements over the years really focused on auto throughput when we got to really start thinking more about the community. You probably have heard this already on your local news about greenhouse gases and the new status level. It's not one to really boast about. It's about bad air quality. So a lot of opportunities for us to improve our community and improve our transportation are going to focus on those opportunities to reduce greenhouse gases, to provide options for folks that may not have an option or just don't want to be stuck behind the wheel. One of those really exciting opportunities, aside what we're looking at with Lincoln, is available through us, through the Colorado Department of Transportation. And has anyone here ever taken Bustang? Bustang is statewide transit that you can even take your bike on and you can get it all around the state. And so what their goal is to strategically put every 10 miles along I-25, along I-70 and some other state highways, mobility hubs to allow people to connect to get from your part of the state to another part of the state. And what we're really excited about what Lone Tree can offer with the partnership with CDOT and of course, Douglas County and Denver South is that interconnection from statewide to regional transit. But also Lone Tree is a significant destination with our large employers and city center to come. And through our partners, we're going to perpetually keep looking at how do we enhance and make transit, biking, and everything else much more accessible, not just for the short term, but the long term. Oops, and I'm pressing the wrong button. Sorry about that, folks. There we go. So we whittled down 19 different concepts for the interchange at Lincoln at 25 and Lincoln at Havana, and boiled them down to what you see in this presentation tonight. And we looked at 13 different options in I-25 and Lincoln, and 6 at Havana and Lincoln as well. And there were a lot. In working with the stakeholders, we had to whittle out ones that really couldn't be built or really would have to take a hotel out. And we don't want to do that. We're trying to do something that makes sense and fits in the place and fits Lone Tree. And this project really is balancing the regional needs of the Lincoln Avenue corridor with the local needs of the city of Lone Tree and Douglas County. So we're also going to be looking at the no build. So what if we really did nothing? And the project manager for our team is going to talk about that in a moment. But as we evaluate the alternatives that you see here tonight, always right in front and center is that mobility, traffic operations, and that multimodal travel that, there's not a lot of pedestrian and bike crashes at all in this corridor. And you want to know why? Because it's an inhospitable environment for walking and biking. People are just not doing it. We can change that. We can make that happen. Safety directly correlates with that. But where our challenges are making sure we build something that's environmentally responsible, that minimizes any community impacts and really helps benefit the community. And then we're very fortunate that we have folks that work with us that can help us identify how to best implement the preferred alternative that comes out of this project. So where are we now? Yeah, just about a year ago, we were starting with and not even at level 1 screenings. So what you see here tonight is we're just getting through level 2 screenings and boiling it down to these 3 recommended alternatives. Over the next few months, a lot of critical meetings and conversations, a lot of transportation modeling, design, adding what I've been waiting for the longest time, adding all the bikeways and all those nodes and connectivity just besides the automobile so that we can really figure out which one's going to be best to work not only for now, 2020, 2030, and 2050. And so we will start the NEPA process next year. And we are very fortunate to have Mr. John Chesser, who is the project manager for Wilson & Co. And John, would you mind leading us through these alternatives and what's next?
Thank you, Dan. Again, John Chesser with Wilson and Company. Thank you guys for all being here tonight. I'm going to do a quick pause before we dive into things real quick, just to check and make sure that everybody online is still seeing and hearing everything that we're doing. Anna Marie from one of our project partners here is kind of monitoring things for us online. Anna Marie, if you can hear me, will you unmute and let us know if everything's still working online?
I can hear you loud and clear, John.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then just to, again, remind everybody, all of this information that you see in the presentation, as well as the boards here in the room, will be available on our project website shortly after the meeting, as well as a copy of this video as we go in. So Dan mentioned what it kind of took to get to this point of alternative screening. I want to give kudos to the project team. The city of Lone Tree, Douglas County, Denver South are fantastic partners to work with. It's great for our team to be able to engage with these folks who've been thinking about this for such a long time and really just gain the importance of this project for the community. It's been an amazing experience so far. We're looking forward to obviously continuing this on down the road. And then all of our stakeholders that Justin walked through, consistent, engaged stakeholders all the way through this process. We did not make any decisions or go through this process alone. We had a lot of partners all along the way, and that is huge to get to a solution that everybody can work with. So speaking of solutions, let's dive in a little bit to the actual concepts that we have come up with, these final 3 alternatives that we are hoping to whittle down into a recommended here later this year. So the first alternative that we're going to look at, and these are alternatives that combine I-25 interchange improvements with improvements at the Havana intersection. That's really important to note as we go through that these are in combination. You can't do one without the other, linking it up the way that we're doing. So this first one is combined alternative 1. This is an existing, it takes the existing partial clover leaf, what we call a parclo, and adds a flyover to it. This flyover is tremendously important. This is a southbound I-25 to eastbound Lincoln. Based on the analysis that we've worked through, 40+% of the traffic that exit I-25 at Lincoln using this movement want to extend east past the corridor, past the project area towards Parker. That is a massive volume of traffic that this interchange needs to process, needs to efficiently move those folks through because they want to get out east of the project area. So it is a critical movement. And to do that, one of the options that we've laid out here is to add a flyover. So you would exit I-25 southbound. You'd have the option of splitting and going up to Lincoln as you do today to be able to go west or east. But if you know you want to get past this area towards Parker, you can take the flyover. There are no stops, and you work your way all the way through in an efficient manner. So that really helps us from an operations perspective. What this also provides is a grade separated interchange at Havana. Currently at Havana, you have a signalized at grade intersection. This would put in an interchange, a diamond interchange that would tie into Lincoln Avenue and allow folks to access Havana or south, north into Meridian or south into the future Coventry development that's coming. And again, one of our major stakeholder partners have been Meridian and Coventry throughout this process, letting us know what's coming and what their plans are so we can help plan for that looking forward. So again, at I-25, you have the flyover. Getting back on at I-25, you see there is a ramp. If you are Lincoln westbound approaching Havana, you'll go under Havana and then underneath another set of ramps to get to I-25 northbound. The rest of the interchange functions as it does today. Some of the benefits of this is that you are taking existing infrastructure and you're adding life to it. By bringing in the flyover, by adding in different ramp connections with Havana, you're extending the life of what's there today, which has its advantages. And it's something we definitely wanted to look at. When you look at Havana specifically itself, getting on and off at Havana is just like any other interchange from Lincoln. We have 2 options here. If you look at Havana in the southeast quadrant, basically the eastbound on-ramp back to Lincoln. Right now we show a typical diamond ramp, kind of just working its way back in before you get to Zenith. there is another option that we're looking at for connecting this at Havana, which is the purple line you see there, kind of referred to as a split diamond alternative. Basically, we could take a connector road, connect Havana and Zenith, and have folks get on eastbound Lincoln from Zenith. So that's an either or. At level 2 screening, we advanced a lot of things that that fared well, that rated really well, that improve operations, that meet our purpose and need. But we still have unanswered questions. What is the best way to get from Havana if you want to go eastbound? We have a couple options there that we want to look at. The modeling and the analysis that Dan mentioned that we're going to be doing going forward is going to help us answer that question. So we're not here today to say we've answered every question that's out there. We know exactly what we want to do. We've advanced 3 alternatives that we want to model. We want to take that next level of analysis and see how it does in comparison. So this is our first alternative. Again, you take the existing Parklow, you add a flyover to it for I-25, and then you have various ramp connections to and from Havana with Lincoln in a grade separated manner. Next alternative does not keep the existing partial cloverleaf intersection. This would replace the interchange at I-25 with a single point urban interchange. Instead of having signalized ramp terminals on the east and west side of I-25, you have 2 as we do today. Those will be consolidated into one major interchange, one major intersection above I-25. And what that does is a couple different things. It creates more distance between that signal and Park Meadows. If you drive this interchange today, southbound I-25, you get off, you get to that ramp terminal, and then you make a right to head westbound on Lincoln. Park Meadows is right there. There's a lot of weaving movements. It's not the most free-flowing condition as that you can get anywhere. This improves that. It takes that distance from the existing ramp terminal and pulls it in right to I-25. So you have more opportunity for traffic to weave, get in the proper lanes, and not hold up traffic while folks are doing that. So that's one advantage. Same thing on the east side, more distance between that signal and Havana. So you're providing more opportunity for folks to get into the proper lanes, get to where they want to be most efficiently. So that's the major benefit of doing a single point urban interchange. You take 2 ramp terminals and you bring them into one. With this, the doing that wasn't enough to accommodate that major southbound to eastbound movement. So this also includes a flyover. That is necessary based on the volumes that we're seeing in our projections to be able to operate efficiently as an interchange, removing that southbound to eastbound movement for folks that want to get out towards Parker, and having them be able to fly through unimpeded opens up the operations of Lincoln Avenue and the interchange. And then over at Havana, this shows the reverse of what the previous alternative showed as far as Havana getting over eastbound. This shows the actual connector road with signals in those places. This would include a full movement signal at Zenith, which is something that we've talked to Coventry about quite a bit in this process. And then the other option, it can work. This option can work as well with the diamond ramp that goes right back into Lincoln before Zenith. So again, we're going to let the data tell us what works best in that configuration, and we're going to move forward that way. So we're conducting that analysis as we go forward. Both options remain on the table as far as how you get back to Lincoln eastbound from Havana. Grade separated at Havana, same type of idea, and the ramps that connect both. So again, the difference here is that we are not maintaining the existing infrastructure at I-25 and Lincoln. We are replacing it with a new interchange with a single point. All right, moving forward into the third combined alternative. This one was really interesting for the project team. We're very excited to see this one advance forward simply because there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know exactly how this is going to connect best with Havana. We showed a big red box here with nothing at Havana, simply to say that we are going to model it with both options. You know, we're going to see what works best at Havana, and we'll add that to this as we go forward. But first, before we do that, we really want to take a deeper dive into how can this operate at I-25? Can this work? It has a tremendous amount of benefit for us. It checks a lot of boxes, which is why we want to dive deeper into the analysis, see what can happen. In this alternative, that major southbound to eastbound movement does not get a flyover. In this one, you would exit I-25, you'd separate like you were doing at a flyover. You run over a parallel bridge, a bridge parallel to Lincoln over I-25, and then you work your way back into the east side ramp terminal. By doing different things with signal timing at that ramp terminal, this could act as a flyover where folks coming off I-25 just continue right through there, the light's green, and you kind of shoot people onto Lincoln Avenue and they get to head east. The difference being there is a signal there that those folks would have to stop at some point so Lincoln Avenue could continue its operations. Again, utilizing a lot of the existing infrastructure, adding to it, extending the life of that infrastructure is great. But it utilizes the existing ramp terminals as we have there now. It's a way to, we asked ourselves the question, could you get the same operational benefit without doing a full-blown flyover? This is what that would look like. Again, lots of benefits on the surface, a lot of really interesting components to this. The question is, can we build it? Is it geometrically feasible? Is it operational? Can we make it work? And as we dive into it, was enough that we wanted to really dive in and answer those questions, because if it can, it has tremendous benefits. So those are the three build alternatives, the three action alternatives. As Dan mentioned, we started with 19, 13 at I-25 and 6 at Havana. We whittled those down, combined them, and these are the final three alternatives that have resulted from that process. A lot that we're really looking forward to, a lot of analysis yet to come. But we have three alternatives here that meet the purpose and need that Justin walked through before, that check a lot of the evaluation criteria boxes that Dan walked through, and I'll show you that here in a minute, and really provided us the best opportunity to make meaningful improvements for this corridor, for this interchange. As always, we will carry forward the no action. The no action for a transportation process like this includes those improvements that have been planned, some of them funded, right? For example, the Coventry development to the south of Lincoln, east of I-25, is a planned development that is coming. Those connections to Lincoln from Havana and Zenith are happening. So we put those in yellow. Those are going to happen. That's something that even if this project goes away, that's still going to happen. That's part of the no action. It's part of the baseline for us. Similarly, at Lincoln and Havana intersection today, if you're traveling eastbound and you want to make a left northbound to Havana, it's a two-lane turn, left turn. The county has plans, Douglas County has plans to make that a 3-lane left turn. Regardless of this project, that's necessary, that's going to happen, that's reflected in this document. So at I-25, no changes, nothing's really planned there yet. That's this process and kind of what we're going through here. But there are some improvements that are planned, either through the city or the county. And this baseline, this no action reflects that. So this will carry forward all the way through every level of screening. It'll carry forward into the next phase of the project as we do our environmental analysis through NEPA. As a comparison tool. We are required to always compare against the no action if we did nothing. All right. So how did we get to this? Dan mentioned evaluation criteria that we looked at before, right? Operations and mobility, multimodal, the safety, implementation, environmental and community impacts. Those are kind of listed across the top under evaluation criteria. And we wanted to provide just a little bit of highlight. Why'd we pick these? You know, why out of all of the alternatives, why these three? Why did these rise to the top for us? And off to the right are some reasons for why those are being recommended. In the middle column, those are what we call Harvey balls. It's a way of articulating how positive or negative an alternative rates in a certain category. The more full the circle with green, the more positive that it is. And so as we're looking forward into 2050, can we solve every single problem that's out there with this interchange project? No. So that just is understood as we go forward. Can we meet this project's purpose and need to provide a better solution, to provide a more connected community, to provide more options for folks to get out of their car and get through this community, get across I-25 on a bike or walking? Yeah, we can definitely do that. And that's what this reflects. So combined alternative one, again, if you look over in the right-hand column, The flyover separates the highest volume of traffic that we see, that southbound I-25 to eastbound Lincoln movement. By doing that, you open up operations of Lincoln Avenue from a more local standpoint. Dan Rain from the city mentioned the balance between local and regional mobility. This is where we start to see that by taking some of that regional traffic, giving them their own lane, allowing them to go through unimpeded. The local traffic, the local movements are opened up and are allowed to operate a lot more efficiently. Substantial reduction in delays and queuing at the ramp intersections, and safety, reduces the potential for crashes at the ramp terminals. Combined alternative 2, again, this one addresses that same southbound to eastbound movement with the flyover. And again, one of the benefits with this is that by pulling those 2 ramp terminals into a single intersection, you provide more opportunity east and west for folks to get in the right lane. If they want to turn at Havana, if they want to turn at Park Meadows, they have more ability to anticipate that ahead of time, be in the right lane, minimizes the ability for conflicts there. Combined alternative 3, this is the one that if we didn't do a flyover, what would it look like? It adds that extra ramp on and bridge to the north of Lincoln right now. And again, that one has a tremendous amount of benefits, enough so that we wanted to advance it and see what we could do with it from a design and operations perspective. And then the no action. So this is just a little bit of detail. It's really funny. It looks nice, 3 columns, 4 rows. It looks nice and neat. The amount of data that we have plugged in the background for each of these criteria to determine why they get the rating that they get, how full their circle needs to be, is immense. And we have pages and pages of 11 by 17 with 8-point font that you don't want to look at. But if you do, you can ask that question. We can kind of walk you through some of that detail, but this is based on a tremendous amount of information in each category for each alternative to make sure that we really are seeing the right ones rise to the top. And these 3 definitely did. All right, so we've mentioned quite a bit about, we're excited about the next stage, right? We're excited about where we're going now that we have these 3 alternatives that have kind of risen to the top of the list. We want to do more with them, right? We have a lot of traffic engineers. We have a lot of design engineers that have been chomping at the bit, ready to get their hands on this stuff to just really get into the weeds and see what they can make work. Because the goal is to get to 1. And the goal is to get to 1 by Thanksgiving. This is what we're looking at, end of November, beginning of December. That's our goal. That's where we're headed with this. So what does that look like? Well, it takes the multimodal elements that Dan walked through beforehand and starts to infuse them now with the actual infrastructure concepts that we have. Put them on paper. Where can we have folks? You enhance the existing facilities, you create new facilities. The idea is with each of these alternatives, what can we do from a multimodal mobility perspective to increase the options for folks to get through this interchange, to get through this corridor safely, with flexibility to do it how they want. So we're going to do that, right? That's going to get infused in there. We're also going to do a tremendous amount of traffic modeling. Our traffic team has already built the models. They're already starting to dive into the weeds on this. That analysis is going to tell us, we think this is going to operate better. This will open up operations by how much? Where do we still see problems? Where can we tweak the design to improve some of those problems? This is where that really deep dive on the traffic analysis side is going to tell us, how do these actually operate with 2050 projections, right? We're building out to 2050. We're not doing this for 2030. We're looking out to 2050, and that's our goal. And then design concept refinements to go along with that. We're going to continuously be refining the design as we get information from the traffic team about what works and what doesn't. We tweak the design, see if we can improve it. We get down to the end, we get the best version of these 3 alternatives, right? And then we see which one rises to the top amongst that list. So when does all that happen? As I mentioned, November, December of this year, our goal is to get to a single recommended build alternative. And with that, we will be able to reach back out to the public, have another public meeting, let you know how that analysis went, let you know what the results are, get feedback on that, and have you guys ask questions, pick it apart, really help us determine that we made the right decision here. And then starting at the beginning of 2023, we move into the next major phase of the project, which is to take that single build alternative and the no action and move it into the the NEPA phase. It's our environmental analysis. So we start looking at what are the actual environmental impacts associated with this? Can they be mitigated? You look at the traffic analysis. We do all of that official documentation to produce a NEPA document that the Federal Highway Administration, CDOT, and all the local partners can be happy with. As Justin mentioned at the very beginning, it takes folks from all levels to be able to make a project like this happen. And then as part of that process, we start preliminary engineering. That wraps up towards the end of 2023, early 2024. And then we move into final design. And that is how we do that is determined by what alternative that we pick and kind of how we want that process to go forward. I say we, the city, the county, Denver South, all the funding partners getting together and deciding this is where we're headed. The final design piece is funded. Please congratulate the city and county on securing final design money at this stage of the project. That's fantastic to know as we sit here that we do get to advance right into final design. Construction is not funded. And everybody always wants to know, how much does this stuff cost? There's a range, it's out there. I mean, until we kind of boil it down, we don't really want to put too much detail to it. That information will be coming. And as we select a final alternative, we'll have a much better idea in the coming months of what kind of cost we're looking at. All right. That kind of concludes the informational portion of what we're doing here. Just kind of providing you updates on where we've been and what's going on. It's a lot. I get that. We have the ability to go back and look at slides. Everybody, whether you're on virtually or you're here in person, has the ability to go back to the website after this meeting at your leisure, review the boards, review the presentation. The video of this presentation will be up and available online at some point next week. That comment form that you can use the QR code for is available online. There are a lot of ways at your leisure to be able to take the time to dive into some of this material and provide great comments. I really, really encourage you to do that. We want your feedback. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you think about the process as we're going through it to help us make the best decisions that we possibly can. So the website link is up here. You can email the project team, call the project hotline number. Dan, I'm not sure we've received any calls, so the first person to call in on the hotline gets a gold star. Online through the website, we do have an interactive map feature that's available where you can drop a pin on any location and make a comment. All that stuff is saved in a database. And then please keep an eye out for the next public meeting. It will not be as much time before we get back together with you guys again. Because of the holidays, it makes it a little difficult to meet during that time. So we're looking at January 2023 to update everybody on the analysis that we're going through here for level 3 and what the results of that analysis are, before we move on to the next big major phase of the project. So with that, let's do a quick check-in virtually and see how folks are doing online. Anna Marie, if you're still there, how are things looking online?
Yeah, we have just a few questions in our Q&A. We have a couple questions here about how the project will incorporate bike lanes versus widening Lincoln to accommodate both of those. And we've kind of touched on it, of course, but I think it would be good to summarize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually going to go back into our presentation here a little bit. There was a wonderful graphic that Dan started his conversation with, and just kind of let folks look at that as I'm answering. So the idea of bike lanes on Lincoln is something that we are looking at, as well as facilities off Lincoln. Being able to get people where they need to be, origin destination type analysis. Where are people trying to get to and where are they coming from? And is Lincoln the best route to get them there? We will have the opportunity for folks to be able to get across I-25 on Lincoln in a much safer, much more comfortable way than you can today. But we're also looking at the larger network. We're looking at what Coventry's plan is in the development to the south of Lincoln on the east side of I-25 to connect into that network. We're looking at what Meridian's doing on the north side. What are the destination points on the west side? And again, what can we tap into and connect links that aren't there now as well as create new links to places that people really want to go. So we are looking at all of those options, and these alternatives as they go forward will include that, and you'll be able to see that on the graphics as we go along. So yeah, something that has been a huge point of focus for us from the very beginning. We want this area to provide options for folks to get to where they want to be in the way that best suits them. Anna Marie, is there another a couple questions that we can group together, or another interesting question you got for us through the chat?
Yeah, there's another one here about considering stakeholders compared to residents when looking at options for this project. And I can kind of kick this one off, and then you can
Sure.
add anything on, John.
Yeah, please do.
But John kind of mentioned it at the end here. We have our public meetings, we have our project website, where you can provide any feedback on that pin map option that we have, as well as the survey. And if you are online, you can get to that with the QR code.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we really encourage folks obviously to attend tonight and get these updates, but not just when we have these get-togethers, right? I mean, there's information that's posted on the website. There are updates through the website in between these meetings. We encourage people to check in routinely, keep an eye on what's going on. You can make comments at any time. You can't sleep one night, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, all you can think about is how do I improve Lincoln Avenue? Jump on the website, you can make comments. There is a date timestamp, so we'll see if you do it at 1 a.m., but that's okay. We'll take it. It's really important to us that the community is engaged in this decision-making process. Very, very important. It's important to the city, important to the county, important to Denver South, that folks have the opportunity to weigh in. So as far as residents go, please provide your comments. Go on that pin map, drop where your house is and say, hey, I commute from here to Denver. I see problems at this location, right? You let us know what you see. Let us know what you experience. Some of the best information we can get are from people who drive this corridor, navigate this corridor every day. So please continue to do that. And then of course, with the stakeholders, we have a leadership committee made up of executives and elected officials from all of the stakeholder partners, and a technical committee. And that technical committee has been instrumental in digesting the data that comes in, helping us understand how we can rate these alternatives, moving us through this process. And again, all those agencies that were up on the screen when Justin listed that out, they're all part of our technical committee. So those folks have a chance as we go along to weigh in and help make sure that we're thinking of everything. And that combined with what we hear from the public is where we're at. Justin, Dan, any follow up on that you guys would like to make? Sure, come on in.
Yeah, no, I think that hit exactly what, and the city is always, and the county partners are always trying to find ways we can engage with the community, right? We have a lot of events that we put on, that our council puts on, a lot of ways to interact with the community. And this is one way to do it, but we also have in-person events and other things too. If anybody wants to come and engage the city, we would encourage that action. And I know we have 2 council people here tonight who are always, excited to hear from our community as well as our staff. So there's a lot of opportunities with this project, but just in general, the city to share information as well.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions from folks in the audience here? Yes, please. Here, Dan's going to bring over a microphone. We just want to make sure it picks up on for the virtual.
Thank you. Totally understandable that it's too premature to talk about expected costs. So let me ask it in a different way. As far as level of complexity regarding design, construction, and subsequently cost, of those 3 options, are any of the options 50% more complex than the other option? 30% more complex? Because it's hard for the layperson to understand the complexity of it.
Right. Yeah. Complexity is a good way to put it. I like that. Yeah. So I would say, any of the alternatives that preserve some of the existing infrastructure, obviously from a complexity standpoint, you get longer life out of what's there now. That helps, right? If you add for example, in the first alternative, we'll go back to that real quick. If you add a flyover to the existing interchange that's there today, it's a lot more user friendly for folks that have been using this interchange for a lot. You're not changing the access to the interchange. You're adding a movement to it, right? So from a complexity standpoint, a little less complex. If you look at the SPUI, while more complex because it's new and because you're creating a new interchange that's different than the one that's there today, it provides operational benefits that actually make it easier to navigate. So there's a learning curve at the beginning, right? And then you have the opportunity to get used to that. And potentially this is easier to navigate than the one that's there today. Again, we're going to dive into that. The data is going to tell us. The real complexity, I think, comes from grade separating Havana. You guys can see between I-25 and Havana, there are ramps. I say ramps with an S because there are multiple ramps. The idea is being able to get people in the right lanes, make it easy for folks to be able to navigate it. But you take an at-grade intersection at Havana and you grade separate it, right? Now you're up above. You got to get people down. You got to get people back to Lincoln. But some people want to go to I-25. Some people want to go all the way through. And they want to go to Park Meadows. We need to think about everybody's movement and make sure we're accommodating all that. So from that standpoint, they all have connections with the grade separated Havana that bring in complexity. So that's consistent amongst them. The difference at I-25 would be, utilizing the existing infrastructure, having the SPUI, and then something like this that adds adds to the existing infrastructure, but without a flyover. You do it in a little bit of a more simpler way. Can the operations match that? So we're balancing complexity with operations. What's going to work here? What's going to give us the most benefit in combination with how can we do it most efficiently? Follow up?
Answers the question of complexity. My question was complexity as far as design and construction. What project is more complex?
Yeah.
What project is more complex will cost more money. So are
Yeah.
any of the three options 50% more complex as far as design and construction than the other options?
Not right now. I wouldn't say design wise. I mean, again, designing of the ramps, designing of the different movements, making sure everybody has enough time to weave and get in the lane they need to get into. Our design team's already diving into all of that. And so we're kind of chewing through it. From a construction standpoint, obviously the big one would be, as much of the existing infrastructure as you can maintain from a construction standpoint, you're minimizing the impact to the traveling public during construction. Right, it's less that you have to tear down and build back up. An alternative like the SPUI, like the single point, can be done. We do it all the time, but you're taking an existing interchange offline, right? And you're modifying it and then you're putting it back online. So from a constructability standpoint and a construction time standpoint, there's some differences, but where you gain here in one alternative, you gain somewhere else in a different alternative. And so that balance is coming in through the level 3 analysis. We're going to get into that. We're also going to get into phasing. One of the big things that we talked about on one of the slides, and I may not have mentioned it specifically, is the very last bullet on this slide, the evaluation of the opportunity to phase. What if we don't get X dollars to build the whole thing all at once? What is our ability in certain alternatives to be able to phase the improvements in over time as money becomes available? Certain alternatives will have the ability to be phased in different ways than others. And that's something we're going to dive into in the next level of analysis between now and the end of the year to identify where some of those complexities are from a phasing perspective. And that will weigh in on what decision is made, what rises to the top. It's one of our evaluation criteria to specifically look at the ability for these three alternatives to be phased. Yeah. Great question. I love it. I like the multiple facets of it. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you go back to the slide which had the schedule, partial schedule on it? So the objective, really, it's pretty short term as far as determining the configuration that's going to be the final, as well as the funding. And that's all going to happen 24 to 25 timeframe?
Yeah, I mean, as far as selecting a recommended alternative, the one recommended alternative to move forward, that's going to happen between now and the end of this year. So that's going to be cool. We're going to have an answer, right? We're going to have an answer that's supported by all the agencies that everybody can get behind. And then once you have that, there's some analysis that you have to walk through, some federal process you have to walk through. There's some design that we have to build up. Right now, this is very conceptual design, as you guys saw on the graphics. We're not at preliminary design. We're at conceptual. We're gonna have to get our way up to that. We'll be doing that as we get through 2023 and then final design into 2024 and beyond. Construction is the big one, right? You know, we don't have construction money now. The city and the county are out there working really hard to identify how to be attractive, how to set ourselves up for success when it comes to construction money. It's a competitive world. And we're in a good position to be able to be very competitive with this interchange in this corridor. And so we're gonna hopefully have an answer to that last box as we move through the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it, a lot of efficiency in that schedule. You know, we're gonna have a decision by the end of the year on what our one alternative looks like. Then we're gonna do our best to work through the federal and state processes that come along with that in the next couple of years, and then be available to move forward as the funding comes in, whether that's in phases or all at once. Yep, another one in the middle. Two of you.
Yeah, on the urban interchange idea, you mentioned how that would improve the navigation to the east and the west on Lincoln. Would you speak to the throughput? Is that a more efficient interchange, and what would be the increase in throughput versus the existing design?
Yeah, really great question. That's a level of engineering design that I am not the best person to answer that question. So I'm going to see if there's somebody in the room on the engineering side that would like to jump in and just kind of give us an idea. I mean, the throughput movements are maintained, and the number of lanes needed to accommodate the volume of people going through are built into this. But Zeke, I don't know if you wanted to jump in. Zeke Lynch from Douglas County is going to help us shed some light on that. You go.
Good evening, folks. I guess I would just say that in addition to the intersection operations that we'll be looking at, we also will be looking at travel times from end to end and from critical origins and destinations. So it's not just individual intersection operations that we're concerned with. We're also concerned with that regional mobility and maintaining that those travel times along the corridor. So that's absolutely as part of our evaluation criteria.
Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess my question is just in general, does a urban interchange increase the throughput versus the kind of the traditional interchange coming on and off of a freeway?
Oh, I see the difference between this alternative, Zeke, and the first one.
Sure. Well, what the SPUI, this single point urban interchange does is it consolidates those two ramp intersections into one. And so from that perspective, you don't have to make multiple stops once you get off the interstate. You're only stopping at one signal when on occasion you might have to stop at two. So from that perspective, you might get better operations in the immediate interchange area. And so what that would mean is you might get better interchange or operations along the entire corridor because of that travel time savings within the interchange area.
One less signal to drive through if you're working your way all the way through.
That's right.
So yeah, more efficiency there.
But again, we have travel time data that we're going to be looking at from end to end to be able to like quantitatively answer that question about how much travel time savings each of these alternatives might be over the no build. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeke. That was perfect. Next question.
Yeah. So in the first public meeting, you guys had mentioned some sustainability goals and some metrics you were looking at. Not really seen much on that, or have those been dropped? Or are you guys still working on those?
Is there something specific you're looking for in the world of sustainability? It's an awful broad.
It is broad. It's just one of those where if you have, we're gonna, I forget who mentioned it, something about greenhouse gases. We're gonna hit a certain goal there, or we're with all of this new pavement coming through, we're going to save X. Like, have you guys started making some of those decisions? Because yes, it's very broad, but starting to set goals ahead of time goes a long way.
Yes, absolutely. And there are a number of processes that some of our partnering agencies have in place and are coming in the near future. Dan Rain is the one who mentioned on this slide the idea of greenhouse gas reduction goals. CDOT through its 1601 process, the idea of modifying interchanges with the interstate, and building capacity projects has goals, right? 3% reduction goals in vehicle miles traveled, or vehicle hours traveled, through the corridor. We're going to have to meet some of those goals as this project. We're going to have to show, what are you doing to help reduce the reliance on vehicles overall in a broad picture. And so we're already thinking about that, as this is why this slide was up early in the presentation, was to articulate this is something that, one, the city and the county has been doing for a long time. And two, this project is committed to continuing that overall broad sort of policy push that the city and the county have at the project level. We also have FHWA and CDOT and Dr. Cog, a lot of our funding partners and federal state agencies that have limits put in, have requirements put in on transportation projects like this that we will have to meet. And we have to show through this process what we're doing to provide options for folks to be able to reduce the vehicle reduction goals. Dan?
I'll quickly just follow up. Are there any goals that are actually going to go beyond what's actually currently required?
Fair question.
Sorry. Hey, absolutely. Well, first, let's start off with the foundation, how the city has planned out its city center for land uses that coordinate with transportation directly. And what that does, it allows people to reduce their footprint. And that is usually the first step to getting folks to understand that sustainability can actually be a savings account as well, too. You can save money because, hey, if you end up living in city center, we're working with Coventry so that every resident has an eco-pass and can get on light rail nice and easily. And look how convenient that is. I just tap and go. It's already taken care of as part of my rent or part of my lease or something along those lines. Then we have the opportunity to access statewide transit as well, too. And so that helps us at the regional level and the local level. But let's get back to the grid type of network that we're looking to develop on the east side. It is a stark contrast to the west side of Lone Tree, isn't it? And that is because we want to develop something that has a smaller footprint, that allows people to live a more comfortable life without auto dependency, that allows for good practices. Ian from our planning department is here, and he's forgotten more than I know about all the different land use policies and development review that we do weekly to help folks develop the projects that honor and value that City of Lone Tree has put forward.
Yeah, so it's not looking at this project alone in a vacuum. It's looking at what the city and county have been doing for a long time, making sure that we continue those efforts. And then looking within this project, whether it's a phase perspective or looking at it as a whole, how can we tap into what's already great? How can we make better what isn't there? How can we make more efficient what isn't? And continue pushing that conversation forward with this project. It's really important to everybody that's involved, and will continue to be a very focused point for us going forward. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
John, I wonder if we could check online
Yeah.
and see if there's any additional questions there and then come back to the room.
Absolutely. Anna Marie, do you have any other questions for us in the chat online?
There was another question. I know that our boards and the recorded presentation will be on the website, but a question about if all of the maps will be on the website.
All of the maps. So every map that you've seen today will definitely be on the website. All of the maps that are associated with the figures of the alternatives will be there. There's an actual map, a pinpoint commenting map that's there where it's based on aerial online, where you can zoom in, zoom out, do different things that way for existing conditions. So yeah, everything map wise will be available online. What else do you got for us?
No other new ones that I'm seeing.
All right.
Back to the room. Additional questions?
All right.
All right, then. John, would you
Yeah.
conclude us?
So as we talked about before, I'll throw up this slide here again about ways to contact the project team. I encourage everybody. Tonight, we have comment forms around. You can scan the QR codes onto your phone right here tonight, make comments there. It's an online form that goes into the database. Please, please, please let us know what you see. Let us know what you don't see. Ask questions. Members from the project team are here. We have folks on the traffic analysis side that are here. We have engineers that are here. And then for folks that are online, please review the materials. They will be up shortly. Hopefully by the middle of next week. You know, some of the files are pretty large, especially with this video, being able to get it down and upload it onto the website, but that will be available. Please, please, please engage with us. Don't wait till January. When we reach out to you again, ask us questions, call the hotline number, send us emails, let us know what you're thinking about. And we really look forward to that. So thanks again, everybody who joined us online. Really, really appreciate the ability to do this. Technology is an amazing thing and allows us to reach out to a whole group of folks in the way that's easiest for them. And then for those of you who made it out here tonight, thank you again. Really, really appreciate your time. Please stick around. Let us know if you have comments. We look forward to chatting with you. Otherwise, that concludes the presentation. Thank you.